My daughter-in-law slapped her dead card on the marble counter and shouted, "Tell her to put it back." Everyone in the bank went quiet. Then the manager looked at me and asked very calmly, "Ma'am, do you want security in the room?" At 8:30 that morning, I was sitting at my kitchen table in my robe, staring at a bank statement I was not supposed to have. I say that because for almost a year, I had stopped getting paper statements. Vanessa told me it was safer that way. "People steal mail, Margaret," she said. "Everything's online now. I'll show you how to check it whenever you want." She did show me once. Then she changed my password because, according to her, mine was too easy to guess. Vanessa is my daughter-in-law. She has been married to my son, Daniel, for 11 years. She is the kind of woman who notices the price of somebody's shoes before she notices their face. She can be charming when she wants something, and for a long time I mistook that charm for attention. After my husband, Frank, died, she was suddenly very attentive. She brought groceries. She called every morning. She drove me to 2 doctor's appointments, even though I could drive myself. She sat beside me while I sorted through Frank's paperwork and kept saying things like, "You shouldn't have to deal with all this alone." At the time, I was grateful. Frank and I had never been wealthy, but we had been careful. He worked for the electric company for 38 years. I worked in a school office until I was 64. We paid off our house, kept one reliable car at a time, and never carried credit card debt longer than a month. When he died, I had just over $200,000 between savings, a certificate of deposit, and the money left from a small life insurance policy. That was my cushion, my roof money, my furnace money, I am not going to become a burden to my children money. Vanessa knew that. I did not tell her the exact amount, but Frank had once made the mistake of saying, at Thanksgiving, Margaret could live to 100 and still be all right. Vanessa laughed and raised her wine glass. "Good," she said. "Then we don't have to worry about you." I remember that sentence now because of the way she said "we." About 6 months after Frank died, Vanessa convinced me to get a second debit card on my checking account. "It's just for emergencies," she said. "What if you're sick and I need to pick up medication? What if you fall and we need to pay somebody to fix something at the house?" Daniel thought it made sense. "You can trust Vanessa, Mom." I did trust her. The card had her name on it, but it was tied to my account. I kept enough in checking for bills and groceries, and most of my savings sat in another account at the same bank. Vanessa was not supposed to have access to the savings account. That is what I believed. The statement on my kitchen table had arrived because a storm knocked over the mailbox across the street, and the substitute mail carrier mixed up several envelopes. My neighbor, Ruth, brought mine over the night before. "I thought you went paperless," she said. So did I. I did not open it until the next morning. The first thing I noticed was a charge for $286.40 at a restaurant called Bellini House. I had never been there. Then $419 at a salon. Then $1,179 at a furniture store. Then a charge for $742.13 from a place called North and Pine Interiors. I sat there with my coffee getting cold and told myself there had to be an explanation. Vanessa had bought things for me before. A new lamp, bathroom rails after I slipped getting out of the tub, groceries. Maybe she had used the wrong card by accident. Then I turned the page. There were 3 transfers to an account ending in 8841. $2,000, $3,500, $4,000. Each transfer had a little notation beside it. External transfer. $9,500 had left my account in less than 5 weeks. I felt a prickling at the back of my neck. I called the bank number printed on the statement. The automated system asked for my access code. I did not know it. I tried the last 4 digits of Frank's old work number. Wrong. I tried my birthday. Wrong. After the 3rd attempt, I got transferred to a woman named Alicia. She asked me security questions, then said, "Mrs. Holloway, I see online access was updated in March." By whom? There was a pause. I can't tell who was physically using the device, but the contact email was changed. To what? She read me an email address. It was Vanessa's. I stopped breathing for a second. I said, "That's my daughter-in-law." Another pause. Then Alicia's voice got more careful. "Mrs. Holloway, do you recognize the external account ending in 8841? No. Do you recognize a scheduled transfer for today?" My hand tightened around the phone. "What transfer?" $24,000. I stood up so fast my chair scraped the floor. "When?" "It is scheduled to process today. It may already be pending." I asked her to stop it. She said because the transfer had been initiated online and because there were multiple linked accounts, I needed to come into a branch with identification. "Can you freeze everything until I get there? I can place a temporary hold on online access," she said. "But if you believe someone has unauthorized access, you should come in immediately." That was the moment I stopped looking for an innocent explanation. I hung up and called Daniel. He did not answer. I called again. Nothing. I almost called Vanessa. My thumb hovered over her name. Then I remembered something from 2 nights earlier. She had been in my kitchen, standing with her back to me, talking quietly on her phone. I had come down the hallway and heard her say, "No, it'll be there before lunch. I already arranged it." When she saw me, she ended the call. I asked if everything was all right. She smiled too quickly. "Just a contractor." I had forgotten about it until that second. Before lunch. $24,000. I put on yesterday's pants, found my driver's license, my passport, Frank's old file folder, and every piece of bank mail I could find. Then I did something Vanessa never expected. I did not go to our usual branch. I drove to a branch across town, and before I went there, I stopped at another bank entirely. Frank used to say that if something feels wrong with money, you do not stand in the kitchen arguing about it. You move the money first, then you ask questions. I could hear him saying it as I pulled into Citizens Harbor Credit Union. I had never banked there. That was the point. A young man at the front desk asked what I needed, and I told him I wanted to open a checking account and a savings account in my name only. No authorized users, no linked family members, no online access until I personally set it up. He started explaining account options. I cut him off. "I'm sorry," I said. "I'm in a hurry. Someone may be trying to take money out of my old bank today." His expression changed immediately. 10 minutes later, I was sitting with a branch officer named Miss Patel. I told her enough to explain the situation, still wondering if Vanessa could possibly have an innocent explanation. Ms. Patel did not react to the family part. She just asked questions. "Are the funds yours?" "Yes." "Is anyone else a legal owner of the account?" "No." "Does anyone else have power of attorney?" "No." "Are you sure?" "I've never signed one." She helped me open the new accounts, then told me to go to my old bank in person and request a wire or cashier's check, depending on what their fraud department advised. She also told me to ask for copies of every authorization on file. "Not just account statements," she said. "Ask who can transact. Ask what phone number and email are attached. Ask whether there are external accounts. Ask whether there have been recent changes." I wrote it all down on the back of an envelope. My hands were shaking. At 9:14, according to the receipt I still have, I walked into the old bank. The lobby was almost empty. I asked for the manager. A woman named Celeste came out and invited me into her office. I put the statement on her desk and pointed to the transfers. "I did not make those." She did not ask me to wait while she checked. She closed the office door. Then she picked up the phone and called somebody in fraud. I watched her face as they spoke. At first, she looked concerned. Then she looked alarmed. She covered the receiver and asked, "Mrs. Holloway, did you recently add a trusted contact?" "No." "Did you authorize an email change?" "No." "Did you request a new debit card for Vanessa Holloway?" "No." She already had one. Celeste looked back at the screen. "This one was reissued 3 months ago. Why?" "It says damaged card." "I never called about a damaged card." She nodded once, slowly. Then she asked me the question that turned my stomach cold. "Have you signed any documents in the last 6 months that Vanessa brought you?" I thought about it. A tax form, a pharmacy form, something from the insurance company after Frank died. A paper Vanessa said was needed to update emergency contacts at my doctor's office. I signed some things, I said. Why? Celeste did not answer directly. She turned the monitor a little away from me and said, I need to bring in our senior financial specialist. That sentence frightened me more than if she had simply said fraud. A man named Greg came in carrying a tablet. He asked me to show my identification again. Then he asked me to sign my name 3 times on a blank sheet of paper. I did. He compared it to something on his screen. What are you looking at? I asked. He looked at Celeste. She said, there is a signature on a recent account maintenance request that does not look consistent with the signatures we have on file. What request? Greg said. A request to update account permissions. My mouth went dry. To give Vanessa access to my savings? He chose his words carefully. It appears someone attempted to expand transaction authority connected to your profile. I cannot conclude who completed the request until fraud reviews it. Did it work? Partially. That one word was worse than a speech. The external transfers suddenly made sense. I told them I wanted every pending transfer stopped, every card disabled, every online session terminated, and the money moved out. Celeste asked whether I wanted to leave enough behind for outstanding checks. I thought of my electric bill, my insurance, 2 checks I had written at church, and the automatic payment for my phone. I left $4,000 in the old checking account temporarily. Everything else that could be moved, I moved. My savings, my CD, even though I had to pay a small early withdrawal penalty, the balance from the life insurance account. By 10/27, more than $180,000 was sitting at a bank Vanessa did not know I used. The scheduled $24,000 transfer was blocked. Her debit card was disabled. My online banking was locked. The old bank put a fraud restriction on the profile. I remember sitting there after it was done, looking at the transfer receipt. I expected relief. Instead, I felt dread, because now Vanessa would know. I still had not heard from Daniel. I called him again. This time he answered, whispering, Mom, I'm in a meeting. Is everything okay? Are you with Vanessa? No. Why? Can you come to the bank? There was a silence. What happened? I need you to come here without calling her first. He gave a nervous little laugh. Mom, that sounds ominous. Daniel, something in my voice must have reached him. He stopped laughing. Which branch? I told him. I'll be there in about 40 minutes. I stayed in Celeste's office while she printed records. There were more charges than the statement had shown. A lot more. Over 4 months, Vanessa's card had been used for nearly $14,000 in purchases. Restaurants, clothing, a spa, a home decor store, a deposit to a wedding and event venue, which made no sense because nobody in our family was getting married, and 6 different charges from a company called Stonebridge Renovation Group. The total to Stonebridge was $8,640. I knew that name. Vanessa had mentioned them when she and Daniel were talking about remodeling their kitchen. They had shown me pictures, white cabinets, brass handles, a stone island larger than my dining table. Daniel had joked that it cost more than his first car. Vanessa had said, that's what financing is for. I looked up at Celeste. Can we tell which card made these? She pointed. Every one of them had been made with Vanessa's card. The room seemed to tilt. I asked for water. Celeste brought me a bottle and said, Mrs. Holloway, there's something else. I almost laughed because by then I could not imagine there being something else. What? There was an attempted mobile deposit yesterday. For how much? She looked at the screen. $48,000. I set the water bottle down. What check? What? It appears to be drawn on your account. I didn't write a $48,000 check. The deposit was held for review because the amount was unusual. Who deposited it? It went to the external account ending in 8841, the same account that had already received $9,500. I asked if they had an image of the check. Greg said fraud had restricted access to it while they reviewed the transaction, but they would be able to provide it as part of the case. Then my phone rang. Vanessa. I stared at her name until the call stopped. It rang again immediately. Then a text appeared. "Margaret, call me now." Another came before I could put the phone down. "What did you do to the card?" I looked at the clock on the office wall. 12:18. By lunch. Exactly as she had apparently planned, Vanessa had discovered the money was no longer where she expected it to be. I did not answer. At 12:21, she called again. At 12:23, Daniel texted me that traffic was bad, and he was 10 minutes away. At 12:24, Vanessa sent a photograph of the restaurant receipt with "declined" written across it. The total was $612.87. Under the picture she wrote, "You embarrassed me in front of clients. Fix this." At 12:31, another text came. "I know you're at the bank." That made my skin go cold. I looked toward the glass wall of Celeste's office. "How would she know I'm here?" Celeste asked if I had location sharing turned on. I did not know. My phone had been set up by Vanessa. Greg took one look at my face and said, "Do not change anything on the device yet. If there's an investigation, keep the messages exactly as they are." For the first time, I was afraid of my own phone. Then the front doors opened. Vanessa walked in. She was wearing a cream-colored suit and carrying a large brown purse. Her hair was perfect. Her lipstick was perfect. Her face was not. She looked around the lobby, saw me through the glass, and came straight toward the office. A teller stepped in front of her. Vanessa said something I could not hear. The teller shook her head. Vanessa pointed at me. Then she pushed past. Celeste stood up before Vanessa reached the door. "You cannot enter this office unless Mrs. Holloway invites you," she said. Vanessa stopped in the doorway and stared at me. "What have you done?" I had never heard her use that tone with me. Not once. I said, "I'm handling my banking." "Your banking?" She gave a sharp laugh. "My card just got declined in front of 2 people from Carlton Properties. That sounds inconvenient." "Margaret, stop. This is not funny." "I'm not laughing." She stepped into the room anyway. Celeste moved between us. "Mrs. Holloway has asked that no one else be given information about her accounts." Vanessa's face changed. For 1 second, the anger disappeared and I saw fear. Then it was gone. She pulled her debit card from her purse and slapped it on the marble counter beside Celeste's office door. "Tell her to put it back." Everyone in the bank went quiet. Celeste looked at me and asked very calmly, "Ma'am, do you want security in the room?" Vanessa looked stunned. "Security? Are you serious?" I said, "Yes." That was when she stopped pretending this was a misunderstanding. She turned toward me and lowered her voice. "You have no idea what you just did." "What did I do, Vanessa?" "You stopped payments that were already committed." "What payments?" She looked at Celeste, then at Greg. "This is a family matter." "No," Greg said. "At the moment it is a banking matter." Vanessa ignored him. "Margaret, I need to speak to you alone." "You can speak in front of them." Her jaw tightened. "Daniel and I are in the middle of a project. You told us you wanted to help. I told Daniel I would pay for new gutters on your house for Christmas. This is bigger than gutters." "I can see that." She leaned closer. "You said family money should stay in the family." I almost admired the nerve of it. Frank had said that phrase, not me. He used to say it when one of the grandchildren needed braces, or Daniel was short on tuition 20 years ago. Vanessa knew that because she had heard him say it. I said, "Show me where I agreed to give you $24,000 today." She did not answer. "Show me where I agreed to the $9,500 you already moved." Her eyes flicked toward Greg. That was the first time I knew for certain she understood exactly which transfers I meant. Then Daniel came through the door. He looked from Vanessa to me, to the bank employee standing nearby. "What is going on?" Vanessa turned on him so fast it startled me. "Your mother emptied the account." Daniel frowned. "What account?" "My card is dead. She stopped the contractor payment. She's accusing me of stealing." I said, "I haven't used that word yet." Daniel looked at me. "Mom?" I handed him the printed pages. He read the first page standing up. Then he sat down. At first, his expression was confusion, then disbelief, then something I had not expected. He looked at Vanessa and said, "What is account 8841? Vanessa crossed her arms. Our household reserve. Daniel stared at her. We don't have a household reserve. The room went still. Vanessa blinked. Yes, we do. No, we have checking at First Municipal and the savings account with $1,900 in it. Her face hardened. Daniel, not here. What is 8841? She glanced at me. I could see her calculating. It's an account I opened for renovation expenses. With Mom's money, she offered to help us. Daniel turned to me. Did you? With gutters. He looked back at the statement. Why is there a salon charge? Vanessa laughed, but there was no humor in it. Because I used the wrong card once. $600 at Gray Finch. Client dinner. $1,100 at Harrison Home. I returned half of that. Where? Daniel, do you really want to do this in a bank lobby? He stood up. Yes. That surprised all of us. Vanessa's voice dropped. Fine. Your mother told me to use the card for things I needed while I was helping her. I said, you bought a dining table. It was on sale. For me? She hesitated. For the house. Whose house? She did not answer. Daniel looked sick. Then Celeste asked me quietly if I wanted them to continue reviewing the account with my son present. I said yes. Vanessa immediately said, I'm her financial contact. I should be present too. Celeste's eyes moved to the computer. You are listed as a trusted contact, not an owner. Vanessa's shoulders loosened a fraction, as if that helped her. Then Celeste added, and that designation is under review because Mrs. Holloway says she did not authorize it. Daniel stared at his wife. When did Mom make you her trusted contact? Vanessa looked at me instead of him. After Frank died, she was overwhelmed. I said, I never did. You signed the form. What form? The emergency contact paperwork. The room went very quiet again. I remembered a Sunday afternoon at my dining table. Vanessa had brought a stack of papers in a blue folder. She said one was for my doctor, one was for the pharmacy, one was for an insurance change, and one let her speak to the bank if I was ever hospitalized. I had read some of them. Not all. Frank had been dead 4 months. I was not sleeping well. I was still finding his socks behind the dryer and crying over them. I signed where she put yellow tabs. You told me that was only so the bank could call you in an emergency, I said. That's what a trusted contact is. Greg said, a trusted contact cannot transact on an account. Vanessa gave him a cold look. I know that. Then it would not explain the transfers. She said nothing. Daniel rubbed both hands over his face. Then he asked the question none of us had asked yet. Where did the $48,000 check come from? Vanessa's head snapped toward him. What check? That response was almost perfect. Almost. But she looked at me first. Not at Daniel. Not at the bank manager. At me. And in that instant I knew she already knew about it. I said, the one deposited yesterday into 8841. She stared at me. I have no idea what you're talking about. Daniel looked at Celeste. Can we see it? Celeste said the fraud department was retrieving the image. Vanessa picked up her card from the counter and slid it into her purse. This is insane. I have a 1:30 appointment. She turned to leave. Daniel said, Vanessa. She kept walking. Vanessa, stop. She stopped at the bank doors but did not turn around. He said, what is at 1:30? Her shoulders rose and fell. A closing. Daniel looked confused. What closing? She finally turned. For a moment she looked furious with herself. Then she said, the investment property. Daniel stared at her. The what? And just like that, the story changed again. Vanessa had not been remodeling their kitchen. At least, not only that. She had been trying to buy a house. Daniel actually laughed. It was one short, broken sound. What investment property? Vanessa came back toward us, slower this time. It was supposed to be a surprise. For who? For us. You were buying us a house without telling me? Not a house to live in. A rental. With my mother's money? With money your mother said she wanted to put somewhere useful instead of letting it sit. I stared at her. I never said that. Yes, you did. When? At Easter. At my kitchen table. At Easter I told you I was thinking about replacing my water heater. Vanessa threw up her hands. This is exactly why I handle things. You forget conversations and then make everybody else look like criminals. Daniel's face changed. It was subtle, but I saw it. He had heard that accusation before. Not about me, perhaps, about somebody. He said, "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Make her memory the issue because you don't want to answer." Vanessa looked at him as if he had slapped her. Then her phone rang. She looked at the screen, declined the call, and immediately got another. Daniel glanced down. "Who is Mark Ellison?" "Broker. For the rental?" "Yes." "Where is it?" She hesitated. "Lake Arden." I knew Lake Arden. Was an expensive little town 40 minutes north of us, full of short-term rentals and summer houses. Daniel said, "How much?" $365. He went pale. "How are you buying a $365,000 property?" "We were financing most of it." "And the down payment?" Vanessa looked at me. There it was. $24,000 scheduled that morning. $48,000 on the check. The smaller transfers before that. Daniel did the arithmetic in his head. You needed Mom's money for the down payment. It was not all hers. What does that mean? I had money in the account already. How much? Enough. How much, Vanessa? She snapped. Why are you interrogating me in front of strangers? Because I just found out my wife opened a secret bank account and was buying a house. It was for us. My name on it? She said nothing. Daniel's face emptied. My name was on it, right? Still nothing. Vanessa, the LLC was in my name, she said. He stared at her. You formed an LLC? It's standard for a rental, and I knew none of this. You would have panicked before I could show you the numbers. He almost smiled, but it was not a happy expression. So you took my mother's money because I would have panicked. She was going to be a private lender. I said, was I? Vanessa turned on me. You said you wanted to help the family build something. I said I wanted to help Emma with college if she needed it. Emma is their daughter. My granddaughter. She was 17 then. Vanessa's face tightened. That is family wealth, Margaret. This would have grown. You didn't ask me. I did. No, you told yourself I had agreed. Then you made sure I couldn't see my own bank account. Her eyes flashed. That is not what happened. Celeste's desk phone rang. She answered, listened, then looked at me. Fraud has the check image. Vanessa went completely still. Celeste asked whether I wanted to view it. Yes. She turned her monitor toward me. The check was one of mine. At least it came from my checkbook. Number 5318. Pay to the order of VH Property Holdings, LLC, $48,000. Memo. Family investment. And at the bottom was my name, Margaret Holloway, written in a careful version of my signature. It looked enough like mine that a stranger might accept it. But Frank had teased me for 47 years because the second L in Holloway always leaned backward. On that check, it stood straight. I said, that is not my signature. Daniel leaned close to the screen. He did not speak for several seconds. Then he looked at Vanessa. She shook her head immediately. I did not write that. Nobody had accused her yet. Daniel noticed too. Then who did? I don't know. The check was deposited into your LLC account. Maybe someone at the bank made an error. Greg said, a paper check was photographed for mobile deposit. That is not a bank entry error. Vanessa's face flushed. I want an attorney. Greg nodded. That is your choice. I wasn't talking to you. She looked at me. Margaret, if you report this as fraud, you are going to destroy this family over paperwork you do not understand. I felt something settle inside me then. Not anger exactly. Clarity. I said, I understand my own signature. She grabbed her purse and walked out. This time Daniel did not follow her. We watched through the glass as she crossed the parking lot, got into her SUV, and sat there without starting it. Daniel whispered, oh my God. I wanted to put my hand on his shoulder. I did not, because I was beginning to wonder what else he had ignored. Celeste told me the bank would open a formal fraud case. She recommended I file a police report because of the disputed check and the account access. Daniel said, Mom, I'm so sorry. I looked at him. Did you know she had my card? Yes. I thought it was for errands. Did you know she used it? I knew sometimes. How much is sometimes? He looked at the floor. I saw her use it at the pharmacy. Groceries. Once for the plumber here. Did you ever see her use it for your house? He waited too long. Daniel, she said you offered to pay for the new refrigerator. I did not. His face crumpled a little. It was $2,300. At Christmas, I had complimented their new refrigerator. Apparently, I had bought it. Daniel sat down again. "There's something I need to tell you. I almost did not want to hear it." He said, "I lost my job in May." I stared at him. It was August. "What?" "My company cut our division. I've been consulting. Looking. I didn't tell you because you were still dealing with Dad's estate, and I didn't want you worrying. Does Vanessa work?" "Yes, but commissions have been bad." "How have you been paying your mortgage?" He looked toward the parking lot. "I thought from our line of credit." "You thought? She handles the bills." I heard Frank in my head again. "If you do not know where the money is coming from, sooner or later you find out where it went." Daniel said, "Vanessa told me she moved some things around. She said we had enough to get through the year." "Did you ask how?" His silence answered me. I was angry with him then, more than I had been all day, not because he had stolen from me. I did not believe he had, because he had chosen not to look. Sometimes people call that trust when what they mean is convenience. Before we left, Celeste printed a list of recent profile changes. My phone number had been changed once and changed back. My email had been replaced with Vanessa's. Paper statements had been turned off. A trusted contact had been added. An external account had been linked. A debit card had been reissued. And 2 weeks earlier, someone had submitted a request to add limited account authority. That request had been rejected because one page was missing a witness signature. I stared at the date. I knew exactly where I had been that Sunday. At Daniel and Vanessa's house. Vanessa had invited me for dinner. After dessert, she brought out a folder and said she needed me to sign a permission form so she could speak to my insurance company about a claim from the winter storm. I signed one page. Then Emma came into the kitchen crying because she and her boyfriend had broken up. I went upstairs with her. I never came back to finish the papers. A missing witness signature. That interruption may have saved me. Daniel read the date too. He sat very still. Then he said, "She asked me to witness something that night." My stomach turned. "What?" "I don't know. She had a stack of papers. She said it was for your insurance. I told her I'd do it later." "Did you?" "No." He looked at me horrified. "Mom, I swear." I believed him, but I also believed something else now. Vanessa had not made one impulsive mistake. She had been building access to my money piece by piece. On the drive home, I turned off my phone. Daniel followed in his car. When I pulled into my driveway, Ruth was standing on her porch across the street. She waved both arms at me. I rolled down my window. "Margaret," she called. "Don't go inside." I stopped the car. Daniel nearly bumped into me from behind. Ruth hurried across the street in slippers. "Vanessa was here," she said. "When?" 20 minutes ago." Daniel looked at me. I asked, "Did she go in?" Ruth nodded. "She used a key." Daniel wanted to go straight in. I stopped him. Ruth said Vanessa had been inside less than 10 minutes. She came out carrying the blue document folder I kept in the bottom drawer of Frank's desk. That folder held old insurance papers, copies of our wills, and blank checks from an account I barely used anymore. I called the police from my driveway. While we waited, Daniel called Vanessa. She did not answer. He called again. Nothing. Then my phone lit up with a message from her. "Do not involve strangers in this. You are confused and Daniel is upset. We can fix it tonight." A second message came. "Tell me where you moved the money." Daniel read it over my shoulder. His face went hard. "She went into your house looking for the new account." Before I could answer, a car turned onto my street too fast. Vanessa's SUV. She pulled into my driveway crooked, got out, and walked toward us, holding the blue folder against her chest. Ruth quietly backed toward her own yard. Daniel said, "Give Mom the folder." Vanessa ignored him. She looked at me. "Which bank?" I said nothing. "Margaret, I am trying to keep this from becoming a disaster. You came into my house. I have a key. That was for emergencies. This is an emergency." Daniel stepped between us. "Give her the folder." Vanessa's eyes filled with tears so quickly I almost believed them. "You have no idea what I have been carrying for this family," she said to him. "Your job disappeared. Your mother needed help with everything. Emma starts college next year. I found one thing that could actually make money, and now everybody is acting like I robbed a bank. Daniel pointed toward the folder. Did you sign Mom's name on that check? No. Did you deposit it? She looked away. Vanessa. I believed she had agreed. That is not what I asked. Her voice cracked. I was going to put it back. The words hung there. She seemed to realize what she had said at the same moment we did. I asked, put what back? She hugged the folder tighter. The money. Once the rental was producing income. Daniel stared at her. So you did take it. I borrowed it. You forged a check. I had permission. From who? She looked at me and said, from her. She just doesn't remember it the same way. That was when Emma's little blue car stopped at the curb. She jumped out before it was fully straight. Dad! Daniel turned. Emma was crying and holding her phone. Mom told me I had to come say Grandma promised her the money. Vanessa closed her eyes. Emma kept talking. She said if anyone asked, I was there at Easter and I heard Grandma say it. But I wasn't there. I was at Sophie's house. I told her I wouldn't lie. Daniel looked at his wife like he had never seen her before. Vanessa whispered, Emma, go home. No. A police car turned onto the street. Vanessa's face changed again. Not anger this time. Panic. She shoved the blue folder at Daniel. I need to call someone. The officer parked behind her SUV and got out. At almost the same moment, my phone rang. It was Celeste from the bank. I answered on speaker. Mrs. Holloway, she said. Fraud completed the first review of the mobile deposit. We have device information and the image sequence. We'll provide it to the officer handling your report. Vanessa stood 3 feet away, perfectly still. Celeste continued. I also need to confirm again that you did not authorize the $48,000 check. I did not. The officer looked at Vanessa. Daniel looked at Vanessa. Emma looked at Vanessa. For once, Vanessa had nothing ready to say. The officer asked her to step away from the driveway so he could speak with her separately. She started to argue, then stopped. Daniel handed me the blue folder. Inside, between Frank's old insurance papers, was the missing checkbook. Check number 5318 had been torn out. Behind the checkbook was a photocopy of my driver's license and a page with my bank security questions written in Vanessa's handwriting. My first school, Frank's middle name, the street where I grew up. Beside 3 of them were small check marks. Daniel read the page once, then turned it face down without saying anything. The officer saw the empty space and the copied identification and asked me to keep the folder exactly as it was. Vanessa stood beside the police car with her arms folded while he took her name. Daniel sat down on my front step. Emma sat beside him. I went inside, locked the door, and put the new bank's receipt in a kitchen drawer Vanessa had never once opened. Then I turned my phone back on. Her declined card photo was still on the screen.